Ever wonder what makes a story stick with you, like for years? Well, today we're going to peek behind the curtain and break down the absolute fundamentals, the DNA, really, of every single story you've ever loved.
I mean, think about it. Ancient myths, modern novels, your favorite blockbuster movie, they feel like they're from different planets, right? But what if I told you they all share the same blueprint, a core structure that's been hooking us humans for thousands of years? And trust me, by the end of this, you're going to see it everywhere.
All right, so here's the game plan. First, we'll look at the basic blueprint of a story. Then, we'll meet our cast of characters and figure out where the story takes place. After that, we dive into the action, the plot, and the conflict. And finally, we'll get to the heart of it all, the big idea that makes it all matter.
Okay, first things first. Before we can start taking a story apart, we kind of need to agree on what a story even is. So what's that core blueprint look like?
Okay, look closely at this definition. The two most important words here are change and goal. See, a story isn't just a list of things that happened. It's about someone wanting something, that's the goal, and how the journey to get it fundamentally changes them. That transformation, that's where the magic is. That's the real heart of any great story.
And you know, this powerful formula is nothing new. It's the engine that drives those ancient myths you heard about in school. It's the skeleton inside your favorite short stories, and it's the framework for those epic novels you can't put down. The packaging might be different, but the core ingredients, they're always the same.
All right, so every story needs a stage and some actors, right? So let's start with those first two essential pieces, the who and the where. We're talking about characters and setting.
So characters are the who of the story, the people we follow, the ones we root for, and yeah, sometimes the ones we root against. To make this super clear, let's actually build a story as we go. Okay, imagine our main character, our protagonist, is a talented person who's held back by fear. Right away you get it. We have someone relatable and we already know what their internal struggle is. Next up is the setting. That's the where and the when. It's the world our characters live in. So for our artist, let's drop them into a super high-pressure competitive music academy. Suddenly, this setting isn't just a backdrop, is it? It's an obstacle. It cranks up their fear of failure and adds all this mood and pressure to their journey.
Okay, so we've got our who and our where, but nothing's happening yet. We need some action. And that brings us to the dynamic duo of storytelling, plot and conflict. This is the stuff that really gets the story moving.
Plot, in the simplest terms, is just the sequence of events. It's the answer to that constant question, so what happens next? But a really good plot isn't just a random chain of events. It has a very specific, deliberate structure. And this is that classic structure you've probably felt a million times. We start with the beginning, which is the setup. We meet everyone, learn the rules. Then comes the rising action, where things get complicated and the tension starts to build and build. That leads us to the climax, the big turning point, the point of no return. After that explosion of action, we have the falling action, which deals with the immediate aftermath. And finally, we land at the resolution, where we see what the new normal looks like for our character. It's like a perfect roller coaster of tension and release.
But what creates all that tension in the first place? One word, conflict. It's simple, really. No conflict, no story. Conflict is the engine. For our talented artist, the central conflict isn't some cartoon villain. It's that internal battle between their deep desire to create and the fear that just paralyzes them.
Now, conflict usually comes in two main flavors. First, you've got internal conflict. This is the battle happening inside a character's own head and heart. For our artist, it's that crippling self-doubt, right? Then you've got external conflict. That's the struggle against something on the outside. Maybe our character has to face off against a hyper-competitive rival or deal with a society that doesn't get their vision. The best stories, they weave both together. The external fight feels so much more important because we know about the internal.
So we've got the who, the where, and the what. But that leaves the biggest question of all, why? Why does any of this matter? And that brings us to the soul of the story, the theme.
The theme is what the story is really about, you know? It's the big idea bubbling under the surface of the plot. It's the universal truth it's trying to explore about life or being human. So for our artist who's struggling with fear, the story isn't just an artist learns to perform. The theme is something bigger, like overcoming self-doubt or finding the courage to be seen. And that's what makes the story connect with us on a deeper level.
All right, let's bring it all home. We've looked at all the individual pieces of the puzzle. Now let's see how they snap together to create one solid, compelling story. And here it is, all laid out. It just clicks, right? Our character, the talented person, exists in a specific setting, that modern academy. They're wrestling with a huge conflict, their own internal fear. The plot is the whole journey they take to finally get on that stage and perform. And holding it all together, giving it meaning, is the theme, overcoming self-doubt. You see, every single piece is essential, and each one makes the others stronger. That right there is the anatomy of a great story.
So now you know the secret. From now on, you're going to see this blueprint everywhere. In the movies you watch, the books you read, even in the stories your friends tell you over dinner. You have the keys to the kingdom. So the only real question left is, what story are you going to see? Or maybe even tell next?